Countdown. Hello, I'm Willie Bragg. Welcome to another edition of the Willie Bragg Show. And I'm going to start off with, good Lord. I'm going to start off with Sean Hannity and his usual partisan pom-poms that he likes to swing around on his silly program. You know, the usual theme. Republicans are always good. Rah, rah, rah. Democrats always icky. Rah, rah, rah. Ooh, ooh, ooh. That's Sean Hannity in a heartbeat. So here he is. The only thing that he's correct on in this video is to criticize Joe Biden, but he criticizes him for the wrong reasons. I mean, as I said many times, I have no problem with the term "let's go Brandon," but let's go Brandon not from the right. Let's go Brandon from the left. Anyway, listen to this diarrhea that he likes to sling around. Here is Sean Hannity. Give me a moment here. All right.
And today, a very defeated, frankly pathetic-looking Joe Biden, well, he sauntered out to the podium 90 minutes late to deliver these very uninspiring remarks. Take a look.
And if Russia goes further with this invasion, we stand prepared to go further as with sanctions. Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors? Yesterday, the world heard clearly the full extent of Vladimir Putin's twisted rewrite of history, going back more than a century, as he waxed eloquently, noting that, well, I'm not going to go into it, but nothing in Putin's length of remarks indicate any interest in pursuing real dialogue on European security in the year 2022.
You know, no doubt, Vladimir Putin is just shaking in his boots. This is really beyond humiliating for our country. Now, of course, Biden did announce new sanctions today, but as one top Russian diplomat put it, Moscow doesn't give an atom shift about any sanctions. And why would they? Russia's main source of revenue is in the form of the production of oil and gas. China, they buy a tremendous amount of this gas, and so does Western Europe, our allies, because we're not producing it for them and making money and creating jobs and lowering this 40-year high of inflation. Make no mistake, that oil and gas will continue to flow no matter what Russia does in Ukraine. In fact, much of Europe, especially Germany, well, they're dependent on Russian oil and gas, which is a big part of this problem. Now, last year, even America, our country, Joe Biden's first year in office, imported a whopping 230 million barrels of oil from Russia, Putin's Russia. Joe's been begging Russia, OPEC repeatedly and being rejected repeatedly to produce more oil to drive down the price of oil and the price of a gallon of gasoline. We have more than they have. Why don't we produce it ourselves, Joe? This is madness. This is insanity. For years, many of the world's leaders have been perfectly happy to make Putin and Russia rich again and a cheap supply of energy available for all. Now, in 2018.
Okay, let me do this here. Just enough of Sean Hannity right there for the time being. See, Sean Hannity's got it wrong. He's criticizing Joe Biden for basically being too much of a pacifist on Russia. That's not the problem. The problem is he's listening to people like Sean Hannity, not directly Sean Hannity, but he's listening to people who favor the same kind of foreign policy Sean Hannity favors. And my advice to President Joe Biden, if Sean Hannity say, this is how you should do foreign policy, do the very opposite. Do the very opposite. Because let me tell you, Sean Hannity was an unrepentant supporter of the war in Iraq. to this day, he still thinks that George W. Bush, our most fucking dumb president ever, the worst president this country ever had, with the worst foreign policy blunder in history, he still thinks that was a great thing that was done. 1 million people died because of George W. Bush's policies in Iraq. 241,000 people died in Afghanistan because of George W. Bush's bullshit. And Sean Hannity is one of the highest profile people still thinking that that was decisive leadership, that was absolutely the correct path to take. And it was nothing is further from the truth about that. That's a big lie. It's a big piece of propaganda. Even some people on Fox can't quite keep going on. Fox had to do a little bit of a makeover on foreign policy because it became no longer partisan. You contrast that, with, what maybe when Tucker Carlson talks, Tucker Carlson wrong on a lot of shit. Foreign policy, not so much. But Joe Biden's problem is he listens, not necessarily listening to Sean Hannity, but he listens to people whose foreign policies are in line with the foreign policy of Sean Hannity's. And that's the problem right there. You got to go and do the opposite of what Sean Hannity wants in foreign policy. Oil production. The closest thing to a point he might have. Well, here's the thing. If we must buy from oil from other countries, sure, buying from Russia would be stupid. Buying from Saudi Arabia is stupid. I never heard him complain about that when George W. Bush was president. Buying oil from other countries when you could kind of use what you got here, but we need also an alternative energy policy as well. And people like Sean Hannity, he's opposed to alternative energies, to even make an attempt. And if one must buy from another country, the one country he does not want to buy oil from, they have plenty of it, would be Venezuela. What better way, any problematic aspect that exists in Venezuela, what better way to peacefully resolve this than to go and seek friendship with the government of Venezuela instead of trying to do a covert war to bring down Nicolas Maduro. Want to bring down Nicolas Maduro, but Jair Bolsonaro, no problem. That's the foreign policy of Sean Hannity. And it's bullshit. So, and Sean Hannity is so dumb with his Rachel Maddow haircut. He is so fucking dumb that he rather buy oil from fucking Saudi Arabia that's this pulse and at the center of terrorism against the West. Not Iran. It's not Iran. It's not Syria. It's Saudi Arabia. That is the ones doing terrorism against the West. And Sean Hannity is okay with them. But, no, we got to go and get those commies down in Venezuela. That's Sean Hannity right there. So Sean Hannity would rather have jihadists blowing up shit in the West than to seek friendship with what some people might call a striving communist state. And Venezuela's not a communist country, by the way, but for the sake of argument, he rather have shit blow up in the West by jihadis than to be friendly with so-called commies who embraces kind of a Western-centric outlook. Say what you will about Cuba, but Cuba is a Western country. But Sean Hannity has more problems with a Western country. I know it's a third world country, but it's still Western. It's still Western culture. He has more problems with a Western culture like Cuba because of the government he doesn't like than a bunch of radical crazies from Saudi Arabia that wants to go commit terrorism against the West. That's Sean Hannity in a nutshell. I remember, what was his name? David Corn from The Nation magazine in 2004. They were talking about radical Islam against the West. And David Corn brought out a very important point that the reasons we have terrorism today is because of the Reagan administration's backing these rebels in Afghanistan in the 1980s. And how did Sean Hannity respond? We're going to fight in communism. We have to fight the Soviets. See, neocons like Sean Hannity rather deal with real bad actors, let them do real bad things to the West, than seek a partnership with another political movement out there that's secular and Western, but maybe not like America. I mean, that's the mindset of people like Sean Hannity. And and I'd rather live under communism than I'd rather live under a radical theocratic rule like what exists in Saudi Arabia. Give me the choice between the two. It's pretty damn easy. But Sean Hannity's too stupid to realize that. That's the neocon mindset. And we still have neocons from both parties that are controlling the narrative of the foreign policy in the United States. And that is to wage relentless war. Regarding Russia, Russia's not a threat to the United States. It's not a threat to the West. Not a threat to anybody. The only problem with Russia is the people of Russia. That's their problem. It might be the problem of people in the Ukraine, but it's not in the interest of the United States government to go and intervene and possibly start a third world war with Russia and the United States throwing nukes at each other because of a dispute that happened in Ukraine. Not crazy about the government of China either, but I don't want the United States to go and start a war with China because China wants to go and take Taiwan. China is even less of a threat when it comes to expanding physical borders around the world, and neither country are really a threat. But that's the Sean Hannity mindset right there. So let me go on, shall I? So I'm going to play you this right here. And I'm going to give you my take very shortly. Okay, hold on one moment. Let me do this. And I'll share a few words afterwards.
Congress, a budget that rebuilds the military, eliminates the defense sequester, and calls for one of the largest increases in national defense spending in American history. My budget will also increase funding for our veterans. Our veterans have delivered for this nation, and now we must deliver for them.
That was President Trump earlier tonight talking about the need to help America's heroes, our veterans. It's a topic that is also important to the 43rd President, George W. Bush, while in Dallas to talk about his brand new book, Portraits of Courage, a Commander-in-Chief's tribute to America's warriors. President Bush shared with me some of the stories behind these paintings. Take a look. This is Melissa Stark. That was a great picture there. And another one. You've done a number of self-portraits.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, it looked like Alfred E. Newman.
This one with this little baby girl is really cute.
Yeah, that's Lily from Roswell, New Mexico. And I was convinced when I met his mom and dad and saw Lily in the hospital, he'd never get out. And I was shocked when I looked on the roster of people going to play in a golf tournament that Lily was on the roster. And he came and played and said, could he bring his daughter by to see me? And I thought it was so the scar on his head points exactly to the little girl.
Wow.
Yeah. His brother in arms.
That's what you call that brother in arms.
Yeah, Gannon and Schumacher. It's an experimental painting in a way, in that I didn't complete a lot of it.
What part didn't you complete?
Well,
I'm looking at
like here.
Yeah.
This is just the hint of shoes. But the reason I did that is I wanted to emphasize the prosthesis And then I love the idea of these two guys arm in arm, and both real good men.
We talked earlier about how often you go to Bethesda, Walter Reed. If you had to guess how many times you're over there.
You know, probably 6 times a year, I would guess. I don't know. There's Falkenberry, who you talk to.
Yeah. That's a great shot.
Yeah, he and Bobby Dove.
And some of these guys are really great golfers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, a couple of them back here are really good. Dan Evans' story struck me. He lost both legs and is now a yoga instructor and believes yoga is an important way that people can heal. And he travels the country giving lectures. And Jay Barkley lives in Houston. There's big Scott Adams. Barkley lives in Houston. 45% of his body burned, father of 3, and sells.
Wow.
He got a good job in the private sector.
You never told anybody you were painting him before you did it?
No.
Not one?
No.
Wow. Amazing.
I ride mountain bikes with Will a lot.
This is a different style, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit, Yeah. I mean, it evolved. Some of them have more paint than others. Will is a guy who works for Bell Helicopters, friend of mine, really good mountain biker. Now, here is this is the piece.
This is 16
feet long.
15 long, right?
Yeah. And this is, I painted it, you can see, except for these two guys, the uniforms were pretty uniform because they were all part of something. Even though in different branches of the service, they were part of something bigger than themselves, serving the country.
You know what we're looking at? Isn't this the mural of heroes?
Yeah, it is. It's America.
Yeah.
It's people from all walks of life who put on the uniform. And they volunteered to do so. And so I tell people, what an amazing country. And one should not feel sorry for them, but we ought to be thankful to them.
We ought to be thankful.
And we ought to help them. And that's what we do here at the Bush Center. That's why I'm so thankful you came down, because I want to talk about to vets who are listening, get on the bushcenter.org website. We can help you find a job, and we can help you deal with your invisible wounds of war. And if you're out there as a citizen who want to help, get on that website. There's some programs in there that work.
Well, the book's phenomenal. Each individual story is phenomenal, and I'm impressed. 4 years in, this is pretty impressive. Mr. President, good to see you again, sir.
Oh, isn't that just wonderful? A partisan neocon hack like Sean Hannity and an actual war criminal who likes to paint. Oh, isn't that just sweet? He talks about helping people. George W. Bush, talk about helping people. You want to help somebody, George W. Bush, turn yourself into the authorities. Go to The Hague and say, I am guilty of crimes against humanity. And take that crank, Dick Cheney, with you, too. Can't take Donald Rumsfeld with you because, he's gone. Take John Bolton. Take them all. Take that criminal gang up into The Hague and, basically, confess to your murdering of people. I mean, and this idiot, Sean Hannity, wants Joe Biden to copy what George W. Bush did. Really, that's what it comes down to. And, and here's the thing. I'm not a partisan hack. I am not a partisan hack. Not one damn bit. Because in 2008, thankfully, John McCain did not become president, who was probably worse on foreign policy than George W. Bush was. We would have had definitely more of the same. Oh, but we did under Obama. So, but thing about it is, Obama talked about change and hope and getting us out of the Middle East. And he bombed the Middle East into the ground with drone strikes. Yes, we can. And he did. He actually even expanded the war to 7 countries. So that's where we're at. I mean, this shit just keeps on. So it was just another Bush and Cheney did not disappear just because they left office. The policies were still there. And, I'm not a hack. I really am not. I'm consistent. And, you got rid of Bush and Cheney, and Obama came in, and then after that, we had this guy, Donald Trump. Now, regarding Donald Trump, he did campaign on getting us out of these wars. But the thing about it is that he had just like Obama, I think that he really was sincere. I do think that Obama was sincere about getting us out of these wars. But the military-industrial complex, the answering back to the State Department, and all of that, just you got the defense industries on your back to kind of keep this shit going. Donald Trump did not drain the swamp like he promised. Draining the swamp would have had your own people in there, not leftovers from Bush-Cheney, i.e. establishment Republicans slashing T's and crossing I's in his administration. This is why you saw the death of Qasem Soleimani and the U.S. walking out of the Iranian peace treaty. This is why you saw bombings in Syria. This is why this is why you saw the United States selling arms to Saudi Arabia to oversee a genocide in Yemen. It happened under Obama. It continues to happen under Trump, and it's still under Biden. Now, I don't think that Bush and Cheney, nor Obama, nor Biden, nor even Trump wants people in Yemen to die needlessly. But there's money to be made. And that's what it comes down to, money to be made. But, Sean Hannity calling for leadership, so-called leadership, on the level of this goon, this monster that kind of started it all. When is all the madness going to end? When is this madness is going to end? I don't see any sign of it happening. Objectively, the war crimes are committed by all presidential administrations. But it's just like they're just trying to make it happen even more so. And when Americans are tired of shit, there's nothing partisan about what I'm saying. I'm not telling you anything any different than what a Dennis Kucinich or Bernie Sanders would say. I'm not telling you anything any different than what Tulsi Gabbard 2 years ago. I'm not so sure what she's going to say today, but I'm not telling you anything any different than what Tulsi Gabbard would have said 2 years ago. I'm not telling you anything any different than what Ron Paul and Rand Paul, at least they're consistent on what they want in the forms of foreign policy. Foreign policy is no longer a partisan issue. It never really was, but whether you're part of the anti-war left or whether you're, a libertarian or paleo-conservative, have an idea or a niche on what you want foreign policy, but the main objective is non-interventionism. Unfortunately, neo-libs and neocons from both parties want to keep this shit going. And so I'm criticizing Joe Biden too, because Joe Biden wants to continue the madness. And remember, Joe Biden voted for the Iraq War. Remember, the civil liberties of this country got tarnished because of the Patriot Act, for which Joe Biden wrote a lot of its language. The Patriot Act needs to expire now. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you all. I saw that Sean Hannity, doing his commentary, and this made me mad, and I just had to share my frustrations. As I said, tell people, I am already against the next war. And I hope everybody dusts off those protest signs and pound the streets, demanding an end to this madness. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you disagree, comment anyway. We'll have a conversation. Share the content on this channel. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you to create your own platform and utilize it because we are the muckrakers of our time. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And until next time, there's a class struggle to wage, and we're all Julian Assange. And now I bid you all a farewell. Okay.